Hi everybody, how's it going? I'm Pabs, a rising VTuber and an artist, and today we're going to be doing a little bit of work on a comic page that I started the other day. There's not much of a preamble to this one, let's just get into it. Okay, let me just sit back down here. Am I smaller than usual? That feels like I'm smaller than usual. I know I'm not very tall, but I gotta, like, this is my stream, I should be at least kind of part of it. So I hear, I understand that when you're streaming, being part of the stream itself is actually kind of a big deal. It's almost integral to the, to the process, if I'm to understand this correctly. The ancient texts weren't particularly clear on this. They did say that, however, that if you... I actually can't think of any joke for this. Alright, hang on, give me a moment. I can bring this out. Yeah, the ancient texts weren't very clear on, like, how big you should be in terms of, like, sheer size, screen ratio. So I'm just going by the rule of thirds, generally. Alright. Okay, so they are running. I might need to pull up the reference that I had for this, for, Lillian's outfit here. Oh yeah, I mentioned this in another stream. It turns out that for like stuff that you're intending to print, it's best to use anti-aliased lines like this. Which in retrospect makes sense, because if you have them like this, it's like, I don't know how to put it, like, I feel like it's probably easier for the printer to spit out compared to, like, aliased lines, which are like this. Like, they have very clear jaggies, and I feel like if you saw that in real life, it would be much more obvious than, something like this. Okay. Let's hold off the sideburn for now and figure out where the rest of this headband would go. I remember that the reason I made the headband look the way it does is because I actually based the knot up here off how you tie karate belts, but like with a little bit of a twist. I'm not sure, it might also look like a folded napkin now. Or a paper boat. Yeah, you can't really know what something will look like to other people until you, like, do it. Yeah. Experiences are for sure not universal, so, what you may end up looking might look like something inappropriate or funny to somebody else, but it might also just be, like, a thing. Let's see here. I kind of... The fun thing about, like, big, fluffy hair like this is that it does, to some extent, have to obey, like, motion, right? So, 4C hair like this is actually if you're, from what I understand, 4C hair, if you're styling it correctly, shouldn't be all that, it shouldn't be, like, affected by the wind too much. I don't know, my sources are spotty at best. But I do kind of, like, want to have it look like it's being affected by, like, by drag, essentially. Yeah. I did always wonder, right? Like, I know... Alright, this is gonna sound weird. I know some dudes in my high school used to essentially wax themselves. They were in the swim team, right? So they wanted to wax themselves so that their body hair wouldn't, like, cause any drag. Is that, like, an actual thing, or did they just get suckered into that by, like, the seniors at the swim club? I wonder. I could always Google it, but it's so much funnier if I don't know. Well, it's one of those things where, like, on the one hand, it makes sense, but I don't know enough about swimming to call it that bullshit. And I gotta pull up the, the script for this. Also, I think I can widen CSP a little bit more. Hang on, let me, Oh no, okay, that just changes the size of the actual thing in OBS, I see. That's funny. Okay, there we go. That should be a little bit better for you guys. Yeah, OBS can be very finicky with like square objects, surprisingly enough. Oh, right, the script for this. Here we go. This isn't quite like, I don't want this to be like quite full mouth, like, you know, it shouldn't be like this kind of yelling, but it should be a little bit incensed. Yeah, what people don't tell you about drawing, right? What I mean, a lot of artists have made jokes about this, probably better jokes than the one that I'm about to make now, but there are... When you draw an expression or a face and you're having a hard time picturing it, you actually like flex the muscles in your face to copy it sometimes. And depending on your situation, that can either be, you know, not really a problem, or it can be a little inappropriate. No, that's not quite right. Something's missing about the mouth here. No. No, that's not quite right either. Maybe flattening it out a little bit like this, moving it down like here. Kind of like that. Like this. I think that's good enough for now. Sometimes you don't need to overthink things like this. I should drink some water. Yeah. This week at work is actually going to be very relaxed for me. I'm very lucky because I'm not scheduled for any like particularly big projects right now. I think the next like actual project I've got coming up, I'm not sure if it's going to be a big project or anything. I don't know the scope of it yet, but it's coming up in like a week or so. Next week I'm just wrapping up some stuff for like the last project that I took care of in December, and now, you know, right now it's, you know, I think everybody's still getting back into the office because it's the end of the holidays. You know, it's what, January 3rd? 3rd? Yeah, it's 3rd. Hang on. But yeah, it's only January 3rd. A lot of people still haven't come back from the holidays fully. So I'm doing more training modules on my own time. And that's been interesting. I've been looking at a lot of like these emotional intelligence courses. And what I'm noticing a lot of is that they will try to give you categories, right? So these emotional training courses, they will try to give you like categories of people. And whilst they can be sometimes, you know, sometimes you can kind of like see what they're talking about. Other times you can also see that they have a very specific kind of bias to one type or the other. Hang on. Where's page 3, version 2? Oh, here we go. Oh yeah, I also recently worked out a template to copy Bristol board. Alright, let's see here. Okay, I see. Yeah, sometimes it's good to have the last pages open so you have a reference for what you're actually drawing. Yeah. Turns out that if you have inconsistencies in your art, it's gonna be a problem later down the line. Nuts, right? Hey, buddy, how you doing? Okay, let's see. Okay. Actually, hang on. There we go. The thing that always bothered me about the necks on these 3D models that come with CSP is that they have, what do you call them? They have very thin necks. They have those very like thin anime necks, and that's not always. I have a bit of a bias myself. Like you guys, if you guys have followed this channel long enough, you know that I draw people like. Most of my drawings look like they could take a brick to the face and still walk out of it pretty okay, which I consider to be a great part of my style. I like that. But I have no perspective on stuff like necks. Like, I have my own neck for well, I don't really have a neck, do I? Well, which should help you understand just how little of a perspective I have on this sort of thing. But we do try. Alright. And swoop that down like that. And there we go, like this. Come on. But yeah, that's something that I've become more conscious of, is that I draw a lot of things much wider than they need to be. I don't know why that is. It might be because I'm using a tablet instead of like a screen, right? I'm not using one of those like visual tablets. I'm using one of the analog ones. And I fear to admit it, but I think it might also be the fact that like my Sona is just so wide and chubby that it's just kind of bled over to most of my other drawings. That is my biggest fear, because if I ever have to stop drawing tabs, I'm gonna be freaking heartbroken. Yeah, one thing I have noticed though is that the arms really are a little bit too thin on these models. What was I doing? Right, okay. Let's see here. But yeah, I actually really like this outfit a lot. My buddy Raph and I came up with it, and it's got like some fun disco vibes. I need to do more research into like periodical fashion. I think that might be a good way to like do some illustration work. I've been meaning to like figure out what I should do for my illustration this month. You know, like obviously I can make my own OCs again. That would be fun. I could try to revamp a drawing that I did much earlier that I really liked. I always feel a little bit nervous when I redraw something that I drew a long time ago. Not because I'm like, you know, a lot of people don't like looking at their own art because they think it's cringe, or because they are worried about like people seeing their old art and all that. I don't really have that same fear, but my concern is that I'll end up kind of relying on it too much. You know, it's kind of the same reason why I'm always concerned that like people are releasing more remakes and they are releasing new things these days, right? I'm worried that eventually there will come a point where I'm only doing like redraws of what I've already done. And while that is an unreasonable fear, and I have the power to end the pattern if I ever begin to notice it, it is something of a concern for me, right? I think as long as I don't step into the territory of doing redraws of a redraw, I think I'll be fine. Like I said, I don't think it's a real concern for me. Like, wait, hang on. Okay, so here's what we can do. Alright, so this is gonna kind of go on like this. There we go. Okay, now I need to hang on to this thread, because if I lose the way that these lines are stacked against on top of each other, I will be in a lot of trouble. Oh yeah, I was talking about these trainings that I've been doing at work recently. Okay, so one of them that I did is using emotional intelligence in sales. And the funniest shit to me in this entire training was that the guy was consistently like, all right, listen, I'm about to teach you some very powerful stuff about like emotions and everything, so I need you to not use these powers for evil. He must have said that at least 2 or 3 times during the lesson, and I do think that that's concerning, but also very funny. Like, how many of this dude's students must have turned to like the path of the Sith or some shit before he had to like add that disclaimer to his videos? I just imagine him recording the Udemy tutorial, and then he like immediately after he turns off the camera, and he just like looks off to the side on like a desk on like a nightstand near his bed, and there's like a picture of like an old student of his who, I don't know, went on to make NFT scams using the emotional tricks that he learned. I don't know. I mean, obviously that's just like a thing of decency, right? Like that's... I do think that it is a very obvious kind of concern if you're teaching stuff about emotional intelligence and you need to tell people, hey, don't use this to be a manipulative jerk. I do think that that's not an unreasonable... What do you call, like an unreasonable concern. Yeah, it's not an irrational concern, but it is funny that he had to bring it up like 3 or 4 times. Oh, yeah. He went on to talk about like he went on to categorize, right, the different types of people who you could be selling to, right? So he said that there are 4 types. And, you know, obviously not everybody is going to be just like one of these. They'll have one that's kind of predominant, and they'll have like shades of others. But the main types, he reasoned, were the driver, who... I don't know how to put it. Like, another thing about this guy is that he said that all these archetypes have their own strength, but I felt like he favored some more than others, or like had better experiences with some of them than with others, or at least had like an easier time writing for some of these than for others. So there's the driver, who is assertive and, you know, they're very assertive. They like to, but they're very composed, conversely, right? These are like your typical stiff old men who need to have things very specific, in a very specific way, who want things to be, you know, they have demands, they have ideas that they want to exact specifications, and, you know, they want it to be very businesslike, very professional, very speedy. It's kind of like that. Those are the drivers. Those are the... And he went on to state, like, you know, these people often find themselves in, like, leadership positions. It doesn't mean that if you're a driver, you'll necessarily be a good leader. But because of the way they are, that's just kind of how it goes. Yeah, there's also the expressive, who is essentially somebody who, you know, it's the kind of very stereotypical, what do you call, the very kind of stereotypical extrovert. You know, they have, if you go to like a sales meeting with one of these guys, you're very likely to need to budget some time towards socializing with them, and, you know, they'll respond better if you invite them to like a lunch or something, rather than, you know, just saying like, hey, can we schedule a quick Teams meeting or some shit like that. He didn't have much to say about them, actually. You know, the expressive group. I feel like they came up in the conversation the least. And then there was the analytical, who is essentially somebody who needs most of the information before they head into the meeting. I felt like I identified with the analytical more than anyone, weirdly enough. Like, there's another one that's coming up that I thought I would identify with, but it doesn't seem quite right. And, you know, they had this guy, the analytical, you know, they need to have a lot of the information. They actually like a lot of background information before they make a purchase or anything. And finally, after the analytical, there is also the amiable. So what the amiable type does is, and this, the way he kind of depicted them was as this very anxious but like well-meaning person who, you know, if they have an objection to one of the like sales tactics, they don't need a solution to it. It's more like they want reassurance. All in all, the whole program kind of painted them in this light of being like, you know, those like very anxious Chihuahua puppies that you see sometimes, kind of like that. They have very similar vibes to that. I should make sure that I know how long these sleeves are supposed to be. Okay, about that long. Okay, I think that's consistent. I feel like I've made it consistent. Okay, there we go. There we go. Anyway, he went on to say, like, oh yeah, you know, if you have one of these people, you know, for example, for the analytical type, the best thing that you can do is, you know, well, obviously first don't be late, but I feel like that could go for any one of these. You know, if you're late to any of these meetings, it kind of starts off on the wrong foot, right? I feel like that's too many, what do you call it, like, curls. Or like wrinkles. This is supposed to be like upside down, right? Oh, shoot. You know what it is, actually? It needs to kind of be over here because, like, you know, she's moving this arm up and this arm back. It wouldn't make sense for her to, like, flare out like that in that direction. That would mean that this arm is going forward. I mean, that could also be happening, but then it would almost be more like this, you know? Alright, let's, it's a shame too, because those were some nice frills that I drew there. But what can you do? But yeah, he tore those poor amiable selling types apart. Like, he was like, you know, these people need a lot of constant reassurance. They get anxious very easily. I felt like he was describing one of the like a troubled dog at a shelter rather than a human person. At least that's the impression that I received. I thought I would be an amiable type, but like, it sounds like they have even worse anxiety than I do. So I'm no longer so certain. Alright, also this is just not working. Hang on. Couldn't I just, like, hang on. Would it be possible to just have it like this? How's that look without the... No, that doesn't make enough sense, I think. What we could do is we could actually put this other arm a little bit further, right? Ah, karate. No, okay. That's not gonna work. Maybe a little bit further back? No, that's not gonna work either. Wait, I've got it. Okay, so... Okay, so similar to the first run that we had, but instead of having the first one be the kind of place where it flares out, the second one is going to be kind of where it flares inward, if that makes sense. Smooth that out a little bit. You know, just buff out some of the scratches. I've always been super interested in just how car metal bodywork just functions. You know, you sit me down in front of a piece of metal, I don't know how to shape that thing. It could have like it could have like instructions printed on the side of it, and I feel like I still wouldn't be able to have what like one dude with a welding license would be able to do. Welding licenses are a thing, right? You need a license to weld, I think. I feel like that's the only responsible way. Like, no, you wouldn't need one to weld, because, like, you know, they sell those like flambe, or like, what do you call it? Like brulee torches, right? Like those like kitchen torches, and I feel like that would almost be like a low capacity. What do you call it? Like a low capacity blowtorch. Alright, how high up is this? Okay, so just around here. Okay. There we go. Nice, okay. Move this around here. And whenever I draw Hakama style pants, I do wonder how they're supposed to stay up all the time. I don't know, maybe I just move around too dang much. Maybe that's more the problem. Yeah, got it. I remember a little while back, right? I did karate in university, which was a lot of fun. I don't think I'll go back to it, but I do. You know, it was nice to practice a martial art for a little while, and for the longest time, it actually took me until like I'm gonna say like almost my second year of practicing it to get myself a proper karate uniform. Because I had just missed the first orders for them. So what ended up happening is that for like a year or so, I ended up having to do, you know, everybody was in their karate gis, but I was just in like sweatpants and everything, which was fine. Except the problem was that I couldn't advance in belt rankings without having a proper gi. So, you know, that was a bit of a pain, but that's not what the story is about. What the story is about is that, you know, at this time, I was in university, and my favorite, most comfortable pair of pants to wear were these Thai fishing pants. Now, if you've never worn these things, they are very loose, like, mid-shin pants that have very long straps attached to them. And what you're supposed to do is that once you put them on, you know, you have your little human body here. Pretend that those are like proper legs. You would tie that around yourself and like cinch it at like the base of your hips to put on the pants. And well, let's just say that tie wasn't particularly reliable all the time. I did have to like readjust it a lot. So yeah, I think the moral of the story is just get proper training equipment. just do it. Just do yourself a favor and get yourself proper training equipment. There we go. What kind of shit was this on the buckle? Okay, it looked almost like a butterfly. I think the way that I originally pictured this was that I made like a design for a belt that was like water themed for some reason, and I remember having this idea of like having 2 hydrogen molecules mirrored here. It looks a little bit like an owl, too. Here we go. Okay, that's one of them. Missing an eye, of course. Let's see, wait. Oh, right, the eye. Okay, right, she had like very wide wingtips. I remember now. There we go. Okay, I think that's this panel mostly done. I think I'm just gonna have like a speed background back here. Should drink some water. Let's see. What else happened this week? Yeah. So I've been watching more of my friends play Guilty Gear Strive recently. And I have learned that I'm not very good at fighting games yet. You know, good is a very relative thing. You know, it's like, good can be a very wide range, depending on who you are, the kind of context of everything. Good is a very relative thing. However, I would like to assert that I am not good at this game because, and you know, if you've never played Guilty Gear Strive at least, I'm not sure how it worked in the previous entries in the series, but there is a, in Strive there is a, for online matches, right, the point of fighting games is that they're competitive, right? They are kind of competitive by nature. So what Strive does is that it has... Oh, didn't mean to rotate her like that. Oh, why is her head not turning also? That's a little disturbing. Okay, let's try it from this section here. What does this look like again? Okay. Anyway, so Guilty Gear Strive has this function like called a tower, right? So essentially the way that it makes sure that you're not fighting players who aren't too strong for you or too weak for you is that it has like this system where you climb a tower, and the stronger and better you are at playing, the higher in the tower you go. I think there's 10 floors total, plus an 11th like celestial floor that you reach if you're really good. I'm currently on floor 3, and that is by sheer luck. Well, no, it's not exactly by sheer luck, but to give you an illustration of kind of my current skill in this game, I got beaten at level 3 so many times that they kicked me back down to level 2, and then I had to beat up like 11 newbie players before they allowed me back into floor 3. Those newbie players I feel kind of bad for, because they are going to hate playing against Faust for possibly the entire rest of their careers. Like, I really did some nasty stuff to them. But yeah, that's been kind of my issue, is that I can't seem to get past floor 3. And while that's certainly a skill issue, I think if I just stayed on floor 3 forever, I would actually cry. And let's see here. You know, I do want to get better at this game. I want to improve at the Gilded Gear. but I'm just not very good, and it doesn't help that the character that I play is kind of a nightmare to begin with. Yeah, don't fuck with us Faust mains. We don't know what our character does. Yeah, I thought it would help looking at like levels of high level play for Faust, but it really hasn't either. You know that what happens when like, okay, so imagine if you tried to show a baby how to walk by showing them a video of like Usain Bolt. That's kind of the equivalent of like what it is that I'm doing. Also, hang on, I gotta bring these guys back a little bit. Mirror. There we go. But yeah, nevertheless, I do have a lot of fun playing Guilty Gear, and I will have fun watching my friends play it too. So I'm not really losing out on anything. Also, I feel like in this one, her gaze isn't far enough back. I also don't think she looks angry enough. Those eyebrows need to reach a higher angle. There we go. Yeah, that's much better. Okay, we got the helmet here. Something that I didn't figure out until much more recently is the kind of snout on this helmet. I think I've recently gotten a better hang of it. But in the beginning, it was like very difficult for me to understand how it worked. There we go. Okay. I do wonder how much of an expression I should give the goggles. I do kind of want to give it a little bit of expression. You know, just a little bit. It's fun when a character's eyewear is also expressive. Like, I love it like when a glasses character, you know, let's say you have a character with glasses like this. If they get angry, instead of like going like... Hang on. Instead of going angry, instead of going like this, right? They also go like this. You know, that just brings so much more emphasis to the whole ordeal. Or like the expressive Spider-Man masks. Why did I just pronounce it like Spider-Man without the hyphen? That feels weird. We're not close enough for me to do that. Yeah, Spider-Man. I always did wonder as a kid what the difference was between like Spider-Man and Spider-Man. And it's that, you know, it's Spider-Man versus Spider-Man. God. I really hope my written English skills are up to scratch, because I have, you know, part of some of the documents that I need to get recently are an English language test, and you guys have probably heard me talk smack enough to know that I have a pretty decent grasp, and almost chokehold one at that, on the English language. But for official reasons, I need to be tested in that. And hang on. my main concern isn't that I'll perform poorly in the exam, because I know I'll definitely ace it. My main concern is that they'll ask me some shit like, you know, what's the active noun of this and that? Like, you know, all those things you learn when you're a child, that like they're like, okay, so what's the participle of this and that, or like what's the, you know, past tense, past tense, future tense. I understand those, but like more complicated stuff I am absolutely hopeless at. And that's exactly the sort of stuff I'm hoping they don't ask about, because I will not be able to answer. Yeah. I don't know how to put it. Like grammar, I guess would be the term. Yeah, I feel like all that kind of complicated grammar technology. Just got my dinner. Hey, nice. Enjoy your meal. Yeah. Okay, so I think it would be called like grammar. I now have dinner and a show. Hell yeah. But yeah, I feel like it would be like, I feel like the most appropriate term for that is grammar, but I don't know what it's called when like they ask you like, okay, like conjugation, right? To me, that sounds like a witchcraft thing, but it's an English thing. It's like an English language thing, and I don't know what that is. I don't know. More complicated English stuff like this, I wasn't taught, or like, it's not even more complicated. It's just like stuff that you learn in elementary school and never have to learn again. My nightmare scenario is that they ask me about those things in this English exam, because I will not be able to answer. I might be able to figure it out from context clues, but like that's the nightmare scenario right there. Yeah, the thing is, right, when most kids were learning what those were, I was just straight up learning English. Right, like a lot of the kids, you know, I'd like to think that I've made up for it more than enough by talking smack in a live stream for upwards of a year now, year and a half almost. Connect vector line. Here we go. But the fact is, English is technically my second language, and while I was learning English, most of the kids, I imagine, were actually learning that first thing, you know, like what grammar goes where, etc. and such. I don't know. I feel like even if I had been like an English language first language speaker, I would have not paid attention to all of that. No, hang on. What's going on here? Let me take a look at some of the previous pages too. I feel like that would be a good idea. Page 2. Okay, no. Actually, yeah, page 2, version 2 would also be handy. Hi, Grass. Alright, let's see here. Okay, that... Actually, I need to, like... No, wait, hang on. I might be able to turn this to my advantage. Alright, hang on, I've got an idea. Might not necessarily be a good idea, but it's an idea. No, that's not true. This is a great idea. Alright, let's see. But it does mean that I have to go back and redo a lot of these pages. So, you know, win some, lose some. Alright, let's see. Page 2. Okay, so... The mask... Okay, so on this page, the mask kind of goes up like that. You ever hear a phrase that sent you into a cultural shock despite the same area? Phrase that sent you into cultural shock despite the same area. I think I know what you mean, right? It's like when you talk to a friend and they're like, "Hey, you don't have these where you're from," and you have to be like, "No, I have never heard of that in my entire life. What are you talking about?" That sort of thing, right? For me, it was when it was thundering and I was in the car with my friend and her mom. Oh, this is gonna be good. Yeah, okay. What did her mom say? Did she say something like it was raining rats and hogs? Because I think that might have been like a cutesy thing rather than a cultural thing. And she was like, "You know it's thundering. You know what that means, right?" Oh god, what does it mean when it's thundering? Alright, hang on. There it is. Wait, no, that's just a fill. Where's the... Oh, it's here. My friend was like, the devil is... Yeah, okay, I haven't heard that one before. That's a new one. Alright, hang on. I gotta convert these all into anti-aliased lines. And I sat in the back horrified. Yeah, no. Like you heard my reaction to that too. Like that's not there's no way in hell that's a normal phrase in the English vernacular. I mean, it could be. I was expecting it to be like something divine. Like I was expecting it to hear like, you know, it's thundering. That means like God's farting or something. But I didn't know. I was not expecting the fucking. I don't even know what to call that. The plot twist. Apparently, it is down south. Huh. But yeah, no, I think now I fully understand what you mean, like a cultural shock in your own culture. It reminds me of how like Raph and I once fought about like whether patacones were called patacones or tostones. They're called patacones. He is definitely, if he ever watches this, he's definitely gonna come into my DMs and talk shit at me for that. But it's I will. This is a hill worthy of dying on. Yeah, there was a phrase somebody said once, like, it's not a hill that I would die on, but at least you're dead. God, that's a very good phrase. Another thing it reminds me of is that recently there was this like screenshot of a TikTok circulating on Tumblr where the dude was like, I would rather have one house with 39 rats in them than 39 houses with one rat in them. And they were like saying what, and every single comment is actually saying like, yeah, we don't know what this guy's talking about either. But go off, I guess. Yeah, everybody wants to be that one dude who was like, there are two kinds of people. People who get clean in the shower and people who get into the shower clean. And while I still cannot claim to fathom what that means, I feel like it at least makes some kind of some manner of teleological sense compared to, you know, the 39 rats thing. Here we go. There's also that other video, right? Like, they showed a picture of, you know, this one random meme that said, okay, you can pick two of these groups of animals to protect you. The rest of them will hunt you. Who will it be? And, like, it had pictures of, like, for example, 10 eagles. You know, they had... What the... Huh. You know, they had, for example, 10 eagles. They had one dude with a gun. They had 15 alligators or something. And two of the options were three grizzly bears and 10,000 rats. And somebody made up an entire song about how that would be their winning combination. Well, it's certainly not the meta that I would go for. I do see how that would be a powerful combination in any kind of scenario. Mainly in terms of like guerrilla warfare, rats are just unparalleled. Assuming you can order them around like psychic minions and you just don't release them into, you know, assuming this is almost like a battle royale type situation where you're in an environment and you have to fight other animal wielders, like some kind of stand battle, right? Assuming you can order these things around like that. I would imagine that the three bears and the grizzly rats? No, that's not right. Grizzly rats. Now there's a terrifying thought. A rat the size of a grizzly bear. Those are enemies in Hades, as I recently learned. But yeah, grizzly rats. What did the name grizzly come from, anyway? I should Google that in a minute. Okay. Does that mean I also need to, like, redo all the... Hang on. No, this one's normal. This one's normal. What the? Yeah, hold up. There we go. Alright, how about the rest of these lines? Okay, the rest of these lines are clean. It's only, I think, that panel that I might have missed. I hope so. Hang on. Oh, wait. Oh, I see. Hang on. There's some knockoff animation that I don't remember, but I do remember them saying... Hang on. Let me finish this up. Actually, while I'm doing this, let me Google the etymology of grizzly. Rats. We're rats. We're the rats. We stalk at night. We pray at night. We're the rats. That one's a classic. I still can't believe fucking Germa made it. Of all the potential content creators that have made that, I did not expect it to be Germa 985. Okay, here we go. Meaning of grizzly. Meriwether-Lewis and William Clark first described it as grizzly, which could be interpreted as either grizzled, that is, with gray-tipped or silver-tipped hair, or grizzly, fear-inspiring and now usually gruesome. The modern spelling supposes the former meaning, even so, naturalist George Ord formerly classified it as Ursa horribilis for its character. Freaking George Ord back in the day was just like, yeah man, fuck this bear, it's just such an asshole. This bear is a complete douchebag. Fuck this bear. God, imagine being... I feel like it would almost be a point of pride for the grizzly bear. If grizzly bears could read, they would be overjoyed at this. Yeah, okay, that's almost got kind of some of the... that's a very weird kind of half state that it's in. It's like, it's like, kinda, but not really where it needs to be. Oh wait, maybe this is a matter of the... Hang on, maybe I need to, like... Did that help at all? I'm gonna say not particularly. Now these guys are also good. These things are kind of weird. This like part up here, but that's also the same up there, so I think that's fine. I think the only one left would be the last panel down here. There we go. Is this part here? Yeah, that's also kind of a cell shaded. Alright, perfect. How about these parts? Yeah, that's also good. Anyway, I was trying to make it so that the mask had a very consistent kind of like eye thing going on here. Let's see here. Where are these guys? Oh, they're in here, I bet. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, I think this is the best move, because otherwise it's going to get a little bit difficult to keep track of how the helmet is supposed to work in terms of like defined lines on it, in terms of definition. Okay, so it goes behind the goggles like that. Perfect, okay. Okay, and then back here, once again, we can just kind of go like this. Perfect. Man, that was a lot of work to fix one error carried over. It's all in a day's work, right? Let's see here. What else happened recently? Oh yeah, Sherlock Holmes is now in the public domain, which is outstanding news for everybody who loves detective stuff. I'm not particularly partial to it one way or another, but I do think it's kind of funny that now... So like in the Great Ace Attorney, I haven't played this game myself, I haven't really finished any of the games in the Ace Attorney series, but in the Great Ace Attorney they do have a character called Sherlock Holmes. And the thing is, right, Sherlock Holmes' name is so... Well, for one thing, I like saying the phrase Sherlock Holmes so much that it's going to be hard getting accustomed to saying the normal one. And two, we're not going to get creative attempts to skirt around the copyright like that for a while, I think. Unless somebody somehow coins Sherlock Holmes again. Doubtful, but possible. I hope not. That'll open up so many cans of worms in terms of like stuff that's in the public domain. Anyway, Sherlock Holmes, right? The estate of that guy, I forgot his name, the guy that created Sherlock Holmes. Frickin'... His name's on the tip of my tongue. I'm Googling it. Arthur Conan Doyle, thank you. Wikipedia. Yeah, Arthur Conan Doyle's estate had a very tight grip on the Sherlock Holmes copyright. But because of the fact that it's in the public domain now, they can't really do that anymore. But because they could before, a lot of media that features like knockoff Sherlock Holmes used to kind of like spoof his names in a specific way. So, for example, in the Great Ace Attorney, it was Sherlock Holmes. And we're not going to get that again anytime soon. Yeah. I wonder when the Sherlock Holmes Tom and Jerry movie is going to be made. Or Scooby-Doo movie is going to be made. I'm almost certain that they must have tried it at some point, but I was worried, you know, I don't think it would have been possible to explicitly call it Sherlock Holmes. Again, I'm not even trying to friggin' to mince his name like that. That's just happening now. Like, that's just my brain's language center rewired in that way. All right. There we go. Oh yeah, fun fact. Along with Sherlock Holmes, somebody else is joining the public domain roster this year. And that is the phrase, I scream, you scream, we all scream for ice cream. Now, I don't know how this phrase wasn't already in the public domain. Yeah, fun fact. A lot of companies and brands are actually very protective of their names. Not just because like it's bad for reputation if like somebody, you know, if you have like a company named, for example, let's say, Shinscram, right? It's not a great thing if somebody replaces the N with a T and now suddenly your brand is called Shitscram. That's not just why they're protective of it, you know, not just for like the goofs like that, but it's also because past a certain point, if a product or service becomes popular enough, it actually starts to gain, how do I put this, like, it begins to gain freedom from the brand. So like, for example, you know how now we can use Photoshop as a verb? Hang on. That's because like Merriam-Webster or, you know, some kind of language society, some dude was like, okay, listen, enough people are just using this word as a verb that I think we can just successfully call it a word. And other people would be in the room, some other mega nerds would be in the room nodding in agreement. But the thing is, once you have a word in the English dictionary, you can no longer copyright that word. You can no longer have that kind of like legal access to it. That's also why we can say stuff like, oh, just Google it. You know, that's why they don't want you to say phrases like that. You know, for example, like one of the Adobe like product guidelines says, you know, we don't say, oh yeah, this picture was photoshopped. You would say, oh, this image was enhanced with Photoshop photo editing software. You know, the reason they're all, you know, kind of how do I put this, like, cautious of that is precisely to avoid that scenario, so they don't lose that copyright, that intangible kind of brand recognition, because that has an actual effect on, you know, if you've taken accounting stuff, that's fascinating, kind of makes sense brand-wise. Yeah. It also kind of makes sense from an accounting point of view. So in accounting, there's these things called intangible assets, and they are a nightmare to work with. But the long and short of it is that intangible assets are, as the name implies, assets which are not tangible. Now, normally, if you have an asset, you would measure it at cost. So at historical cost minus whatever kind of like depreciation, wear and tear you've gained on it. So for example, if you bought an excavator and you bought that excavator for like $8,000, you would write that down. You would write that excavator down being $8,000. And over time you would be like, okay, so this year, you know, this much wear and tear got on it. It's now worth, you know, $7,000. We have that historical value still on record, but now it's only worth around $7,000. And if you can't determine the price of the cost of something, you know, if you, like, for example, you bought it, you know, if you buy a company, for example, and you buy that company and it has, you know, a branded software like Photoshop, you know, like if I bought Adobe, for example, and Adobe was worth on the books around, say, $1 million, and I paid $1,200,000 on it. That $200 million goes to something called goodwill. And that is an intangible asset. It's essentially, goodwill is essentially the amount you paid that was over the net value of whatever you were buying. And this mainly goes towards like when you buy a company. So it's called that because it is goodwill, but this is a very long-winded tangent explanation to be like, okay, yeah. So if the word Photoshop, if the brand name Photoshop suddenly becomes worthless, then that's also going to make you lose an asset in your books, since theoretically now the value of the word Photoshop is $0 because it cannot be bought. And I think some of the corporations this has happened to is Google and Kleenex, as far as I'm aware. Yeah, I think Kleenex is a specific brand of napkin. I've never actually seen a Kleenex until I was like, freaking, how old was I when I first saw Kleenex? I think, to give you an idea of how alien the concept of a Kleenex was to me, I heard the phrase first in a... Hang on. What's the name? What's the name of this lady? Judy Blume, right. I first heard the brand name Kleenex in a Judy Blume novel. And I didn't know what a Kleenex was. They were like, yeah, I handed this girl who was crying some Kleenex, and I'm like, what the fuck is a Kleenex? And it turns out that the reason they can just say stuff like that, I don't know, maybe it's different for books or like some children's books or something. Maybe there's like some kind of copyright law that I'm not aware of, but I didn't know what a Kleenex was, and when they could have very easily just said tissue paper, I can kind of understand why they would use brand names instead of, besides the idea of like somebody's like having, Judy Blume friggin' got royalties from Kleenex the company to include their product in the book. Besides that, I think that it makes sense that a children's book would actually use brand names rather than like generic names, because children are more likely to recognize names on stuff they use. I feel like if you ask a child, okay, what's your favorite food? They would say like Pogos, because, Pogo is a corn dog, but it's also the brand of the corn dog in the supermarket. So if you say like, oh yeah, in the book, you would say, oh yeah, we're having Pogos for dinner. The child would maybe pick up on that a little bit easier than if you said we're having corn dogs for dinner. Fascinating from like a anthropological perspective of what's happening with the language center in children's brains from that, but I'm not here to argue that sort of thing. I should drink some water. You know what other crazy shit brands do? You can copyright a color. It is very rare, and it is very difficult to do, but you can do it. Like, for example, the Robin's Egg Blue from Tiffany. If you've never heard of Tiffany, it's a large jewelry store that's famous for its little blue boxes, which normally contain wedding rings. And the wording around color copyrights is so funny because, copywriting a color is a dick move to begin with. That's a spectrum on the human visual field. We can't help seeing that sometimes. You can't, if the sky suddenly happens to be a shade of Robin's Egg Blue, you can't just say, well, that's copyright infringement and now God owes me $6 million. That wouldn't be righteous, fair, or even, legally feasible. So what ends up happening is that a lot of these color copyrights end up having to have very circuitous language, from what I understand. So, for example, I think like for the Tiffany box that I mentioned, it's limited to specifically jewelry boxes, like small jewelry boxes. Like they have a copyright on that color for jewelry boxes, for very small jewelry box containers. And at that point, you kind of have to wonder to yourself, then why really bother? I mean, I know I'm the one who brought up the idea of like intangible assets earlier. And while I could see that being a thing, it just sounds like such a specific and petty thing that I don't ever imagine a scenario where that looks good for you. Alright, let's see here. Actually, we can probably like grab one of these and stretch it out for the gun's bottom part. Let me take a look at how I've drawn this gun other times as well to make sure that it's consistent. Okay, yeah, I do think I just drew it. Hang on, I do think I just drew it with the angles coming off. Oh, this will be handy. Okay, yeah, I think I've got an idea for how I need to draw that. The good thing is I've never drawn the gun out of her hands. So that, weirdly enough, gives me a little bit of leeway in how I can depict it. God, it is really freaky how just looking at a screen for 8 hours a day can exhaust you. It's not. I think the main issue is that I can't tell when my exhaustion is coming from me actually being tired and me just having looked at a screen for too long. I've noticed that happens to me very frequently, that I will be like, oh man, I need to take myself a little nap, and I'll only rest my eyes for a few seconds and then I realize, wait, I'm not sleepy. And then I'll get up and I realize that it's just that I wasn't blinking enough when I was looking at the monitor. You know, I assume this would be a problem if I had eyes, which I don't. But if somebody were to have eyes, say a human being, who just happened to randomly like live streaming, if they had eyes, I imagine that would be something of a problem for them. Psh, imagine having eyes. Couldn't be me. Yeah, there's no I in team, but there's also no I in Pabs, so jot that down. Okay, that... okay, so you... Alright, Bunny, you got my ass good with that one. You got my... I time rice boy. Ah, fuck. Alright, I'm gonna make it tiny like this. Oh god, okay. Do you want it in like a set, or is just having one here good? Like, is this gonna be like a... Do I get peripheral vision today, or am I gonna have like... Or am I going Cyclops mode? I don't know. Gotta do the set. Alright. As you wish. And why not? Let's make one slightly bigger than the other. How am I looking? Handsome? Yeah. This is not a technique I like to use very often on account of the fact that, actually, there's no real reason that I don't want to, that I can't use it. I just don't want to. But yes, look into my deep, black, soulful eyes that are definitely not plastic and hot glued onto my face. There we go. Wait, do I have two? Do I have two of these here? No, it's just one. Alright, good. I feel like I either need to thin this part out or increase the thickness of all of these. Yeah. I think increasing the thickness a little bit would help. Except for this part here, I need to skin this way down. Nice. slim this part here down too. Yeah. I've mentioned this before, I'm not really used to working with anti-alias. Like, I've gotten used to it now. I think I've finally kind of gotten the hang of anti-alias work. Particularly because nowadays I don't know, I think the reason I hated it so much as a kid was that when I used the fill tool, I just wanted to be done with it. I didn't like the coloring process. But now I think I've gained an appreciation for it. I think I'm patient enough now to use the anti-alias more frequently. But I think part of the reason why I also kind of shied away from it as a kid was the fact that when you zoom in on it enough like this, you start to see like these like flecks, you know, you start to see it pixel by pixel, and that's supposed to happen. That's supposed to be a thing. That's supposed to be how it works. But I wasn't aware of that. I didn't understand, like, you know, pixel stuff. That's definitely what it's called. High five, brain. But yeah, I didn't really understand pixel stuff as a kid, so I always thought that this was like actually wrong. And it didn't help the fact that like if I tried to fill it in, it would create like that what do you call it, like white line. This isn't a good example because I'm using a vector layer and I've got some settings for that, but you know what I mean. Here we go. Yeah, one of the saddest things that's happened to me recently, I talked about this some other times, is that I've realized that I don't like sweets as much as I used to. This morning I didn't have a whole lot of options for breakfast, right? I've recently come back from a trip and I didn't have a whole lot of breakfast options. So, like, to give you an idea, the situation was dire enough that my only real option for breakfast was just like buttered toast or instant oatmeal with sugar. And while those might be fine options, I'm used to having like a little something different, right? I kind of was like, all right, listen, it's Tuesday morning. It's been a week of a past 2 days. You deserve a little treat. Let's get ourselves some donuts. And I realized that I didn't want donuts. Yeah, it's a little thing, right? You know, it's ultimately a good thing, right? Sugar's supposed to be bad for you, but it's a little sad when you lose a little bit of yourself like that. Like, if I don't like sugar, then who am I? Yeah, like if you cry every time. I don't know who came up with that phrase, right? Like if you cry every time, but it has lived rent-free in my head. Particularly the version of it that's like if you cry every time. Like with the CRI and the misspelled like. I think the other words must have been misspelled at some point too. But it has just had so much of an effect on my brain real estate that it really cannot be overstated. With the googly eyes is perfect. Yeah, just like... Hang on. Like, now I'm just imagining just... hang on, I gotta put this together. Have you got... Bunny, I don't know if you've heard it. Have you heard the opening intro to Metal Gear Solid 5? Like, that one was like, why are we still here? Just to suffer? I feel like that's kind of the... God, this is a really... This is powerful. Yeah. Hang on, let me see if I can pull it up. Alright, hang on. Let me see if I can do a rendition of it. Hang on. I'm gonna do it over the radio voice, too.
Snake, why are we still here? Just to suffer? Every night, I can feel my eye, and it won't stop hurting like it's all still there. You feel it too, don't you? I'm the one who got caught up with White Dusk, a group of nations, even the US, and I was the parasite below, feeding off of Carmen's power.
Or something like that. There's a bunch of stuff that I don't know about Metal Gear Solid, and I intend to keep it that way 100%. So I had to substitute a couple of the... But I do know enough about the... I'm at a very weird stage where I know enough about Metal Gear Solid lore that I can solidly understand what the hell is going on at any given moment. But I'm also not sure what any of it means. Alright, let me just grab a quick screenshot of that. Actually, no, let me just real quick get some text in here. And hello, video thumbnail. Alright, let's just save that to the screenshots. Anyway, back to work. Let's get this goofball out of here. This is a serious work zone only. These two poor ladies are running for their life and all you can think about is googly eyes. I do wonder if I shouldn't, like... Hang on, I'm gonna try and rasterize this. See if I can't do a little bit of something with the perspective on this. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. There we go. And also something that's been bothering me, right? The arm doesn't feel quite right. Like, it should be straighter up. Okay, so I'm gonna keep the gun in the hand, but I need to move everything from the wrist down. And also thicken that wrist, because my god, that looks like a hinge. That's some Kingdom Hearts type glove. Alright, so, okay, so then maybe we can do... No, hang on. Perfect. Okay, then after that... Oh. Oh yeah, another funny thing that happened that I read about in the news the other day. Apparently Twitter is $136 in the hole. $136,000 in the hole for rent at their San Francisco office. Which is really just a... Big indication of the state of it all. I mean, it's embarrassing enough when like a normal person like me is behind on rent. I'm on time with my rent. I have been on time for my rent ever since I got here, but you know, it's embarrassing enough when it happens to you. Imagine if you're like a multi-billion-dollar company. Well, previously multi-billion-dollar company, I should say. But yeah, that's gotta hurt. Yeah, essentially they're getting sued by their landlords because I think they haven't been paying their office rent for ages and ages now. Listen, the big problem with me that Twitter is exploding is that a lot of the people that I know have a Twitter, but they don't have a Tumblr yet. I mean, they'll give in eventually, but you know, if it just up and crap itself one day and dies, that's going to make it a little bit more difficult for me to get back in touch with them. And I mean, yeah, obviously everybody has their own attachments to Twitter one way or another. You don't get to be that big without everybody having a little bit of skin in the game. But my kind of personal issue is that, you know, like, obviously a lot of people, a lot of creatives are going to be losing revenue from not having access to Twitter anymore. But, you know, from a personal perspective, that's my main concern, that I'm not going to be able to talk to some of my friends. Me and all the Japanese, Korean, and other artists. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. I know some Japanese artists who do have a Tumblr as well. Like, I know that's, like, been somewhat popular for them, but, like, they're definitely in the minority. Yeah, and so if they do have a Tumblr, it's usually like a backup of their Twitter stuff. Hilariously enough. Okay. Here we go. Now, those flips are a little too flat. The mouth is a little too high up. It needs to be a little bit lower down, I think. I don't know what kind of expression to give her in this panel. I think she'd like definitely still be a little bit miffed, but I feel like she'd be like contemplating something. Oh yeah, Before on the other pages I was working on before this for this comic, I was using like a very kind of horror style of shading, which is kind of gonna fall apart in these coming pages. Like once these two get together, I think it officially goes from being any kind of serious, massive tension to being kind of a buddy cop comedy almost. Well, no, that's not really appropriate. Neither of these women are policemen or police officers. But it has that kind of similar dynamic. I don't know what to call a buddy cop routine other than buddy cop, right? Like, I feel like that's a very specific kind of genre, but I'm not sure what to call it in any other context. I mean, you could go for a straight man, funny man, but that's not necessarily what's going on. You know, that's sometimes the buddy cops are just funny man, funny man. Okay, I think that's kind of a good mouth shape. It's kind of begrudging almost. There we go. What else happened recently? Nothing really comes to mind. Although, oh wait, no, something that did happen earlier today is actually really funny. So, I order my groceries from one of those apps, right? Like, I get my groceries delivered to my door. Mainly because the grocery store that I like to use is a decent fair bit of ways, and, well, no, it's actually quite close, but I don't own a car, and I usually get upwards of like 20 kilograms of stuff, so, and there's no like direct bus stops to and from the shop, right? So, you know, to save myself having to have like 3 different leg days in a month, which I probably should have anyway, but, you know, not preferable to me at least. To save myself all that grief, I've just started ordering groceries online. And earlier, when I went to pick up the groceries, there was a FedEx delivery lady who essentially... Okay, so what happened is that I opened the door to the lobby of my apartment, and there was a FedEx delivery lady waiting outside with a one of those what do you call? I don't know what they're called, like a pallet carriers, like those like roller tablet things like this. Not a skateboard, but like a... I don't know what these things are called. She was carrying a bunch of boxes on that, and she essentially like let herself in. Like she like butted me out of the way. Like she heard the door open and she was ready for action. A pulley, that's it. A pulley cart or like a pulley trolley or something like that. Yeah, pulley sounds about right. Trolley, pulley, something like that. It had 2 L's. Well, actually, it had 3 L's after she essentially, like, just shoved me out of the way. It was really funny. The thing is, right, when you have like a package carrier or a package deliverer, people who deliver packages have a very specific kind of energy. And I think that stems from the fact that you never mess with the person who delivers your mail. Right? Like, there are plenty of people you can pick a fight with, but you never pick a fight with 3 people. your barber, your chef, and the person who delivers your mail. And I think they know that, and I think like private couriers know that. They understand that. But yeah, she essentially just bowled me out of the way and just got to where she needed to go. I admire that kind of, you know, sheer drive and determination. Maybe not so much when it's personally, like, turning me into a bowling pin, but, you know, you can't always have your situations. If I was partial to that sort of thing, I wouldn't have any principles. Let's see here. How are we for time? I think like maybe another half hour or so, and we should be good for today. I mean, I'm not going to be finished, but I think it'll be enough work for today. Oh yeah, I recently went on a trip. I've mentioned this, and I got the chance to use one of those fancy. It's boggling my mind, right? So the screen's on the back of the airplane seats, right? If you've been on an airplane for the past 5 years or so. Oh, this is part of the brim. Okay. You will know that on like every seat, they'll have like now a little touch screen that you can use, unless it's like a very remote airplane or a very old airplane. Now, most of them will have like a touch screen that you can use that has like movies and stuff in there, like an in-flight map or something. They have really evolved. I remember seeing one for the first time when I was like 8 years old or something, and I didn't know what it did. Like I just knew that it can pull up the flight map. So, 14 hours on a plane as an adult is not a cakewalk by any stretch of the imagination. But when you're a child, that is fucking interminable. And I had I was like 8 years old. I didn't know English, and I just had this screen in front of me. And I was just like, all right, let's rumble, big man. I know what a screen is. I'm 8 years old. I'm practically an adult. You know, this is like Tiny Pab's train of thought. I didn't manage to figure it out, I think. I think eventually I kind of ended up borking it. Those things are very sensitive even now. I didn't break it in the sense that I you know, it's no longer operable. I think I broke it in the sense that it's no longer like responsive. It like glitched out or something as a kid. Anyway, I don't usually use those these days. I didn't either. Like, I didn't use them a lot as a kid, and I don't use them a lot now, because I just have other means of entertaining myself on a plane. Like, I have, like, I still have my DS, and I use that a lot to, you know, pass the time on planes. I draw, I write stuff on my phone, I do all kinds of stupid stuff to just while away the hours in that liminal little metal tube soaring through the infinite skies above. But this time around, and this is a very unique experience, one that I think like a lot of people may relate to. Either a lot of people are going to relate to this, or it's just going to be a me thing, and I will just give everybody else like the worst nightmare that somebody's doing this to them now. I peek at other people's screens. I don't give a shit about like what I'm watching. I will peek at other people's screens like it's the most interesting thing in the world. And I'm sorry if you've flown on a plane and that's like your worst nightmare, but if we have flown on a plane together, I have peeped your screen. If we are sitting together, I am going to fucking rubberneck. I am going to be an absolute menace, just like watching what you're watching. We're like watching this movie together now. This is all to say that I had a very pleasant time watching somebody else watch Bullet Train, and then I watched Bullet Train myself because I wanted to hear like the voice, you know, the voices of the actors and everything. It's a very good movie. I enjoyed it personally. But yeah, I did actually try to like look up Bullet Train, the movie tag on Tumblr. But unfortunately, it's all just horny fan art of not even fan art, it's just horny posts about the British character, which was sorely disappointing to me. As someone who came there for cool art, like, if assassins gather on a movie and all you can think about is this one singular man's ass, Unbelievable. I mean, I imagine you could say that for a lot of other media, right? Like, I think that's definitely, like... But it's the first... It's not gonna be an isolated incident, but it's the first time it's happened to me personally. And the funniest thing is that because it's a movie and not like a serialized TV show, it's like the same 6 different clips of his ass too. It's not. There's no variety to it. It's like all the same different shots of him walking down the train hallway. Like, you can understand, right? It's not only the frustration of not finding what you wanted, but it's also the frustration of the fact that these people seem to be pining over the exact same 6 images. Get some variety in there. Get some additional art in there. You're not adding to it. You're not adding to anything. It's like a whale fall. Like, I respect being horny about one dude in a movie. You know what? I'll cop to the fact that I can respect being horny for like one of those 17 different people in one movie. I can respect that. I can respect if everybody gets horny over one specific man, but stimulate the economy in there. Come on. But yeah, it'd be like that. It sure do. It doesn't help that I didn't find him particularly hot either. Like, I may not like men, but I have very specific standards for what I find hot in a man. All right, I'm allowed to have criteria. And this guy just did not do it for me. Yeah, like, again, it'd be one thing if it was like a different series of images, and it'd be another thing if I actually found the dude interesting. But he's like a guy to me. He's just like a normal dude. Anyway, let's see here. What else are we missing? I think this panel done as well. I think I should probably do some stuff coming out of the gun. Let me drink some water first, though. Yeah. Speaking of airplanes and oh right, I need to draw something from the gun. Yeah, speaking of airplanes in an airport, you know what fucking carries the airport experience? Wall outlets. Like, I've been thinking of this. There is no singular object that I respect more in an airport than the charging ports that are available to the public. They are heroes. Those little guys shaped like this. Those that looks like a seal. But yeah, those like little outlets that are scattered here and there that actually work. Especially, the thing is, right? And again, I'm not sure how universal my experiences are. I have been to a lot of airports, right? I have been to a lot of airports, and usually in the airports, chairs have, you know, there will be like benches, right? They'll have like those anti-sleeping armrests right here. But usually sometimes in between the chairs, they will have like little outlets here. Those do not work anymore. Ever since, I don't know when it happened. I think it must have been like during the Rona or something. Or maybe it's just a very recent development. I haven't found a single one of those that work. But there are these ones in the floor that you need to friggin' uncover like a manhole. Those suckers work. Yeah. The absolute state of the electrical outlet economy, huh? Here we go. Alright, this thing also has the heat vent at the bottom. Okay, I need to remember to add the little dots to that at the end of when I finish the page. Okay, I think that would be a good one. A good way to do it. There. I never know how big to draw the steam thing coming out of this. Like, I imagine it should be, like, fairly small. Yeah, I think definitely, like, if the steam cloud was that big, it would kind of hurt the legs of whoever was holding it. I also think maybe I should re-angle this one so that it's going out this way. Okay. Yeah, I think that's a couple of things that I need to keep in mind there. I'll get those done as soon as I can. There we go. Okay, now to rearrange the panel structure. Oop, oop, oop. Watch out there. And then maybe drag this whole thing down a little bit. Maybe drag this one up. And then we just need to finagle the rest of these a little bit finer. Oop, not what I meant to do. Alright, let's see here. Here we go. And over here. Okay, in this case, I think it would be a good idea to... Okay, first of all, no longer show the ruler. Second of all, get the mannequins back in here. Come here, you. Alright. Let's move these two knuckleheads a fair bit back and a fair bit to the left. Okay. I'm not sure if we'll need the gun. I'm gonna keep it floating around just in case. The mysterious case of the floating gun. Oh, okay, I see. So the perspective isn't actually in that direction. It's more like... Hang on. Hold up. Okay, so how do I make sure that this chops off the limbs at all the appropriate places? Things that could be said by both the Saw villain and me. Let's see here. What was I doing? Right, okay. So... I feel like that's not showing enough of them, right? Like, I feel like this needs to go a little bit further up. And also, this one's pose needs to change. Yeah, her hand is up on this other one. Oh, wait. Oh, did I goof? No, this is fine. It does look a little bit like she's holding something invisible up in the air. I feel like I should maybe change around the arm position there. Be a little bit more relaxed. Or at least kind of show that she's turning around to aim. Alright, we can do that. Alright. Just very quickly. And also we'd have to... Oh, right, I got rid of the models. Alright, well, we are freehanding this. God help us all. Let me just copy and paste this layer real quick, just in case I have what historians across the century describing the exploits of, you know, Alexander the Great, the friggin' Romulus, friggin' all the greatest conquerors, you know, what they refer to as a gamer goof. Let's see here. Maybe like having the arm be lower. Okay, I think, okay, hang on, let's try that out. We'll need to get rid of the reference layer here. And also the one below that. Okay, but hear me out. Okay, that'll be around the end of the shoulder. Then will come the bicep. / tricep, what have you. That upper arm. Then around here. Yeah, I think what would mostly change is that the arm would be angled downward rather than upward. No, hang on. Here we go. Should I just get the model in here just in case? I feel like I should. It's a shame there isn't any way to unrasterize a layer. That thing's kind of a one-way street, you see. I'm gonna unrasterize your layer. Sounds like a sounds like an art school student threat. There was like this tweet a little while back where some dude was like, imagine the math kids jumping you and they say reduce that motherfucker to its simplest form. I imagine that that's the equivalent of like the art kids, right? Compress this sucker's layer. Thin this jerk's paint. Turn him into a Jackson Pollock, that sort of thing. You've lasted your raised layer, yeah. Alright, hang on, wait, okay, I wanna come, I feel like there's something really good in that, okay. You've terrassed your, wait. Yeah, you've lasted your terrassed layer. You've lasted your raised layer. You're gonna need more than an undookie to recover from what we're about to do to you. What was that one fucked up Jesus painting that some lady essentially repainted by accident? The Ecce Homo. Hang on. Yeah, where was this? Yeah, this one. Turn this motherfucker into the Ecce Homo restoration. I wonder what's the story behind that. Like, nobody, you know, nobody goes into a painting restoration, least of all this woman, right? Like, this would have been from a cathedral or like a church that a woman would have gone to very frequently. They would have had to trust her to redo this. There has to be some reason it went this way, right? Like, there has to be some reason that happened. You know, nobody goes into a restoration of Jesus the Christ and decides that they're going to do a bad job at it. At least, you know, in the context of that, I don't imagine anybody would. You know, iconoclasts have their place in art, but they're not likely to be found being trusted to restore a church painting. So what happened? Let me actually read the article. Hang on. One time I went to with a friend of mine with a jazz festival, right? Hang on. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, this doesn't actually talk about what happened. Okay, yeah. The now fabled Spanish art restoration disaster was carried out by local amateur artist Cecilia Jimenez. The original fresco was slowly decaying due to the humidity in the sanctuary, and Cecilia wanted to do something about it. Although not a professional by trade, Cecilia is certainly a very good amateur. She had permission from the local clergyman to restore the painting. She was working on it throughout the days in full sight, and people just let her crack on without a second thought. About halfway through, she took a vacation, and this is when her life changed. A journalist from the local newspaper happened to stop by the sanctuary and notice the artwork in its now famous state. Oh. That's unfortunate. So that was a painting in its unfinished state. Ah, that's rough. Yeah, I figured something else must have happened. It wasn't just that, like, you know, she beefed it and colossally like that and everybody was okay with it. You know, haha, funny Spaniards, but, you know, I didn't figure that it would be like that bad. Poor lady. Yeah. the problem with living, the problem with getting a viral hit is that sometimes it's not what you intend to happen. If you get a viral hit and you wanted that to happen, even then you can be overwhelmed. But if you never wanted that shit to happen, that is going to be, that's going to be very difficult for you to deal with, I imagine. One, two, three, four. Okay, no, we're missing a finger back here. Hang on. Yeah, I remember reading this story, right, about this dude who... Essentially, the story went that his girlfriend, he was in a long-distance relationship, and his girlfriend gave him a surprise visit. And the dude... And the way that it happened was, like, the guy had a very underwhelming reaction to it. But he was eventually like, "Oh shit, that's my girlfriend," and he went up there and they had a good reunion. But they uploaded that video to TikTok, and what ended up happening is that a bunch of friggin' amateur psychologists, armchair psychologists, what have you, they saw this video and were like immediately like, "Oh yeah, that guy's cheating," or like, that guy's a scumbag. Why wasn't he immediately happy to recognize his girlfriend? And he mentioned that was like couch guy, yeah, that guy. And they accept, like, as a couple they were like, I remember that I remember it being as a couple, but essentially they were like, essentially had people crawling all over us for months after that, and it was just so horrible. That I imagine must have sucked. Yeah. Alright, hang on. Alright, how did I have this in the... Yeah, couch guy. Alright, so... I think in this one she's kind of like still ducked over a little bit. Would her elbow still be out like that? Hang on, let me try something here. There we go. Alright, this is going to be a fun panel. I actually have to do a background for this one. Alright, so here's how we do. Actually, it's actually just about time. So I think we're going to bounce on out of here. Alright, let's see here. I should start wrapping up stream soon, so I think this is a good place to end it. There we go. Alright, well, thank you everybody who came by the stream. I think we're going to be rating it into Corgi's stream. They're playing a game called Haven, which looks interesting. It's got a very cute little creature on it. Thank you all for coming by. I really appreciate it. And I will see you all on... I'm a guy that remembers when he streams. I'm a guy that remembers when he streams. I'm a guy that remembers when he streams on Thursday for some more Hades. Alright, catch you later. Bye.